Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 25 map guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at Moss Valley. But before that, this video is brought to you by Nuka-Cola and Mark Bauer. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Moss Valley map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Now, while this map has no required mods, it is fairly large at 519 megabytes to download. Let me read you some of the description. Welcome to Moss Valley. With this map, you'll be able to tackle the challenges of running a farm in the heart of Sheffield. With accurate farms and fields, you'll be able to really get immersed in the experience, almost like you're really running it. There are multiple businesses that you can take all of your products, from grains to wood and everything in between. With built-in productions like dairy and a bakery, you're going to not only be able to sell your crops in bulk, but also process them and profit even more. Demand on the forest is low, so you can get them at a fair price and sell the wood at the local sawmill. There are not only cows, sheep, chicken, and pigs, but you can also buy a small run horse farm located in the northwest end of the map. You might also run into some hand tools. They're not just decorative. If you find them, you'll be able to get a really nice reward for them. So this map has some custom collectibles. If you want to expand your farms with productions and you don't want to waste expensive fields, you can buy a placeable area either near the bakery or BGA on the other side of the map near Carter Hall Grain Elevator. I hope you'll enjoy the map. This map includes lots of features. They are new accurate real-life models made for this map, 80 fields, small, medium, and big, 10 custom-made collectibles in the hand tools, 4 farms across the map to fit every playstyle, buildings with lights and animated doors, huge forests to take on, custom tree and ground textures, hedges only have collisions on bales, built-in BGA and other production points, multiple sell points, UK license plates, 2 placeable areas, seasons visuals, seasons hedge texture changes, and stubble tillage texture by Purcell X. And with that, let's go and jump back over here to the map and take a look at the PDA. Now, Moss Valley was a map introduced in Farm Sim 22, I do believe. And I do recall, now that I've been on the map in Farm Sim 25, I recall the layout of this map quite well with respect to the Farm Sim 22 variant. Now, we do have all the standard crops available to us in Farm Sim 25 on this map. And if we go ahead and take a look at our farmlands, you will see that we start up by owning Farmland ID 86. This is going to be the main starting farm. And on this main starting farm, we actually have 2 pig buildings, 2 chicken coops, and a cow building. We also own field 33, field 34, field 39, and 38 at the start. Now, in addition to the main farm, there are also 3 other farms located on this map. Just to the north and west of the main starting farm at Farmland ID 89, we have a cow farm. We can buy that cow farm for a mere $27,000. So pretty cheap. In fact, if we do select to not own the main farm when we start the map, we can buy it for $61,000. To the northwest, as the description said, there is a horse farm at Farmland ID 87. It can be bought for $38,837. And to the southeast, we do have a sheep farm located at Farmland ID 88 that we can buy for $35,000. Farmland ID 71 has some beehives also located with it. We have some production up here to the east. And then we have some production also over here to the west. Overall, what you're going to find on this map is we've got one long road that kind of runs diagonal from northwest to southeast. And then we have a few kind of auxiliary roads that spur off that in order to get to other aspects of this map. We do have our standard crop counter for Farm Sim 25 available here on Moss Valley. With respect to our animals, our starting farm, we do have, again, multiple chicken coops. We have a cow barn and multiple pig pastures. None of these buildings have any animals in them at the start. We do have contracts available on this map. And as far as productions go, we do have a grain mill, a BGA, we have a sawmill, we have the Moss Valley Bakery, and then we have Robbins Dairy Products. These are all fairly standard productions as far as their inputs and outputs. We have approximately 6 sell points scattered around this map. And if we take a look at our vehicles, I will tell you that regardless if you own the farm or not, you will be starting with all of these vehicles. We have the Agrimaz POV 5 XL plow. We have the Amazon ZATS 3200 fertilized spreader. We have the Omega 6000 FL seeder. We have the Kloss Evian 450 harvester, and that's paired up with the Varo 620 grain header. We have the Flegel ASW 271 trailer. The John Deere C441R round baler and wrapper combination. We've got the Krone Vendro 820 Highland tedder. The Samgard 9500K cultivator. We have a bale fork and pallet fork, as well as universal bucket. We also have the Merlot Multi-Farmer 44.9 telehandler. We have the Massey Ferguson 7S165 tractor. The Nardi N20T header trailer for that grain header. We have the New Holland T7 260 tractor. The Samez KDF 341S front mower. The Samez XT 390 trailed side mower, and the ZT 840H windrower. We do not have any hand tools at the start, and as I mentioned, this map does have those 10 hand tool collectibles scattered around the map. Now just real quick, if we jump over here into build mode, I want to show that we have all fairly standard sheds. So we don't have custom sheds that we can put down here, which is a little bit of a disappointment because we do have custom sheds pre-placed here, and we can sell everything at all the farms. So deco elements, farmhouses, buildings, trash, and such, it's all available for sale at all of the farm areas. So you will have complete and total customization control with respect to the various farms on this map. Now we do have a couple custom silos that are included with Moss Valley, as well as a couple custom options as far as farmhouses. With respect to factories, we do have the BGA as an option, but sadly we don't have the other factories that are for this particular map. Everything else is fairly standard. With respect to our animal pens, also, it's a little depressing that we don't have the ability to put down these custom animal pens that we have available here, just to kind of keep up with the theme. It would be nice to be able to go ahead and buy and put those down if we did want to expand or customize our operations a bit. With respect to ground textures, we've got fairly standard ground textures on Moss Valley, fairly standard trees, and fairly standard plants and shrubs. We come over here to our vehicle shop and we go to mods and DLCs. We do not have any custom vehicles or machinery. Now that said, let's kind of go ahead and take a look here at our starting farm. We start located right here at our farmhouse. We do have a sleep trigger. Walter's just kind of hanging out here. And if we make our way up the hill a bit and across the street, then we are now over here to our main farm. We'll say hello to Ben, and then we'll just kind of meander around. We've got a couple machine sheds, very tight farmyard. But we do have the ability to customize this, so if you want to open the yard up a bit, we will have that capability. Just know we won't have the ability to put these fine buildings back down, which is a little bit of a depression. Got our fuel tank here. Over here, we have our cow building. So we have our milk trigger. We have our cow drop-off point. We can have a total of 200 cows in this particular barn. Just up from that, we have a chicken coop. We're going to have 550 chickens in this building. And then we have our food trough for our chicken coop. We have our output pipe for our silo as well. But before we go to the left, let's swing back around here to the right. Because around the side of this building, this is where we're going to find our food trough and our straw trigger for our cows, as well as our slurry point. Got some more sheds over here for implement and vehicle storage. Let's make our way back this way. So back around, again, this is where our farm silo is. You see our farm output pipe there. So we have our dump point inside this structure for our farm silo. We have the other side of our chicken coop with our egg spawn point. There we have our cow building. And then this is going to be one of our pig pens. 70 pigs are going to be available for keeping in here. We have our food trough. We have our slurry point for our pigs. We have another chicken coop for another 250 chickens. We have our food trough there. And then we have another pig pasture or pig pen for another 70 pigs with food and slurry. Then we should find our eggs on the other side of this building. So there's the eggs for the chickens. Now, I have to say, Moss Valley is quite a sight. Got lots of really nice sight lines. We can expand the map here. And you see we're looking across the road off into the distance. There's part of the extensive forest. It's farmland ID 1. Up the hill from our animals, well, we've got some more storage sheds. We have a Meridian grain bin, standalone grain bin. Here we have fertilizer storage. And then we have a covered silage bunker up here on top of the hill. Now, I will say that we have things like our windmills here. Those do have collisions. And we're also going to see in other areas around the map where we do have utility poles crossing through fields. Those utility poles also have collisions. Now let's go ahead and just make our way up the road, and we'll take a look at the cow farm, the horse farm, the sheep farm, and the bee area. Now, I don't know if you can see the grain bin off in the distance. You can definitely see the windmill off in the distance. That's where our starting farm is located. We've just pretty much made our way just up the road a bit, between fields 32 and 56. And here we have the entrance to the second farm. We're going to call this the cow farm. David's the NPC that's just kind of hanging out over here. So we've got some nice period-specific, area-specific sheds. We do have the ability of getting rid of this deco. All right, so if you want to completely clean up this area, we do have that capability. We have our farmhouse down here. So we have another silage bunker, covered silage bunker. We have a fuel tank. And then as far as our cow pasture goes, well, it's back here between these buildings. So we have our slurry point, we have our food and straw, we have our milk, and then we have our cow drop-off point. We're going to be able to put a total of 60 cows in this building. And that is pretty much this small cow farm. Now, one thing that we can't get rid of on these farms are the fences or stone walls. I did try to get rid of some of those earlier, and I was not successful. We do have this area across the street as well. So we've got a little shed over here also that is tied to the cow farm. Now, that said, we're going to jump up to farmland 87, which is in the extreme northwest, and that's where we're going to find the horses. So here we are in the northwest, farmland ID 87, and we have our horse farm. If we just kind of take a look back across the map, you can see the BGA down there. We have a building site way off in the distance, kind of about centered on the screen. We have the cow farm, and then if we scroll a little bit over there, we have our windmill. That's going to be the starting farm location. So here at the horse farm, we do have a fuel storage, several machine sheds, our quality farmhouse, then we have our horse barn. So we'll be able to have a total of 16 horses here at this horse farm. We have our food trough inside. Further up the hill, we have a little bit of an exercise area. And then, for example, these power towers, they do have collisions. While we can get rid of the sheds on this farm, these parked cars, they're going to be remaining. And there you go. That's going to be the horse area. And I believe when I sold everything, I'm trying to recall again, I believe this riding area, this training area, I do believe that that remained as well. So if we make our way down the road, and we're just going to bypass all of this right now, but here we have one of those building sites. We have the BGA. We have our cow farm, our starting farm, and oddly enough, the main road here just kind of seems to cut through the farmyard. I mean, is this normal? It just seems a little odd, but at any rate, if we can keep carrying this road down into the valley. Okay, we meander up. Here we have farmland ID 71. We've got a few bees here, a few beehives located here. If we do own the land, we can sell the beehives. And then we have our bee honey spawn point located right there inside the shed. If we do own this land, we can also get rid of these sheds if we want to. Further down the road, we have then the fourth farm we're going to take a look at, and that is the sheep farm, and that's going to be located at farmland ID 88. So we've got a few machine sheds here. And of course, in the UK, I do know that they often will just dump their grain into buildings like this. Just kind of pile them up. So that's why we often don't see a whole lot of traditional silos on these UK-themed farms. And then we have our farmhouse. And then here we have the spawn point for the wool, our milk. And then I gotta wonder, is this sheep farm really intended to be this way? So the delivery point for a sheep, well, it's buried back in here to the point where, well, it's pretty darn hard to get to, or it's pretty darn hard to find. Like, we've got a road here, but what's the deal with all these trees and branches and everything? Right? I mean, here we are. Here's the trigger for the sheep. 200 sheep in this pasture. But, I mean, it's pretty darn impossible to get to and see. Then we have our food trough located right here. Right? So we've got this whole area for the sheep. But what is the deal, really, with all of this overgrowth right here at our sheep delivery point, water trough, and food trough? I mean, it's all buried and hidden. Then we clearly have an indicator here for our wool or goat's milk. And those are the 4 farms that are pre-placed here on Moss Valley. As I mentioned, we will have areas where we have utility poles running through the fields. And in my tests, these utility poles do have collisions. So you'll see that when we walk up to these, we are basically being pushed aside as opposed to being able to walk or drive through those. Now, while we're down here, let's go ahead and check out our various sell points and productions. Further down the road, right here at the edge of the road, we have a grain sell point. So that's going to be located right here. And that's going to be Ridgeway Goods. So here we have the sheep farm. We have our bees, and then we have our starting farm, our cows, and our horses. So we have Ridgeway Goods. We make our way back up this way, past the sheep. We have a bale sell point located right there. We just kind of take a look across the valley. If you can get by with the narrow roads and the small kind of farmyard areas, I think you're going to enjoy this map. I'm just going to kind of make my way up here to the east side. This is where we're going to find our animal dealer. So we have our animal dealer sell point. And then we have our animal dealer itself. And of course, Kate's just kind of hanging out. Around the corner, we then have our sawmill, where Noah's hanging out. We have our pallet spawn point. We have our wood chip point. And we have our log sell point right there. Further up the way, we have our dairy production. So we have our pallet point, we have our dump point, and it's a little hidden, but here under the sign, we have our interactive icon just up from the dairy, while we have our other production. I believe this is the bakery. Let's go ahead and confirm. It is the grain mill. So we have our pallet point, we have our interactive icon, we have our dump point around the back. Now the roads on this map are really tricky. Okay, you can see on the PDA, we've got a sell point up here to the extreme northeast. How do we get there? Well, there's one way to get there, and it's over here on the extreme eastern side of the map. We're over here by the dairy. So you see we've got this road that's extending its way up. We're going to run along this forest area, along these fields. And then around, and finally, eventually, we're going to find our way over here to Carter Hall Grain. So this is going to be a grain sell point. And then we have another building site also up here, but it's kind of at the tail end of the road. All right, it's one way in here, one way out. There's no other way around. So this map is going to feel and likely play as if it's a lot bigger than the standard size map that it truly is. From this point, well, the road goes back, connects over there by the animal dealer, and then we'll eventually connect down there by the beehives. Or we could take this dirt area, this dirt access road, and it's going to eventually wind us back over here to our starting farm. If we take the road to the northwest from the starting farm, of course, we have our cow farm. And then up from that, we have our stone crusher. And we have a grain sell point located right here. Now, we don't have a floaty icon, but this is going to be our grain sell point, or one of our grain sell points. We have a BGA. So we have our dump point for our slurry, our digester, our interactive icon, and our digestate. We also have a nice three-sided silage bunker there. We have a bakery located right here by the grain sell point. So we have our interactive icon, our dump point, and our pallet spawn point. Up the hill from the bakery, we have our vehicle shop. So we have our dealer trigger just outside here. And then if we go inside, we'll have our shop trigger. And let's go ahead and buy something. Make our way back out to the parking lot. You can see where new vehicles are going to spawn. Not the biggest area for new vehicles, so you're not going to be able to buy a whole ton of stuff before you're going to have to clear this area out. Now, if we continue to make our way up the road, over here we have another grain sell point. This is going to be located at the garden center. We have two sell points here. So we have a grain sell point, and then we have another dump point here at the garden center. I suspect this is where we're going to be able to sell manure here at the garden center. Then we have this large construction site. It's not overly flat, but it is a fairly large construction site that we could either build further production in, we could build a farm here, or we could just carve it up and convert it into a field. And that, folks, is pretty much Moss Valley, because if we continue up this road, we're going to find our way back over here to the horse farm. And that road just kind of loops around and then takes us back down. So I'd love to know your all's thoughts down in the comments below with respect to Moss Valley. Did you play it in Farm Sim 22? Are you going to look for it in Farm Sim 25? And maybe those familiar with UK style farms, is this a thing? Like do you legitimately have a real road that just seems to cut through a farmyard? It just seems a little weird. Just a little weird to me. At any rate, I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments below with respect to that and the map itself. As far as performance goes, this map plays very, very well on lower end systems. I was getting frame rates in the upper 30s to low 50s. So that equates out to frame rates anywhere from, let's say, 70 to over 100 FPS. Until next time, happy farming.